You had questions, I have answers. Welcome to my very first Q&A video. I was very surprised at the number of questions I got, so thank you to everyone who sent one in. We got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get rolling. RBO13 says, how many controls are there to operate Slappy and what do they each do? I'm going to be making a video on this in the near future, but I'll give you a quick rundown. Slappy has 5 controls. On my right hand, the hand that's in his back, with my thumb, I control his mouth, and with my pointer finger, I control his side-to-side eye. From the bottom of this control, there's a bundle of thick black cables that runs to another controller I hold in my other hand. With my pointer finger, I control his eye blinks and his widening eyes. With my thumb, I can control his eyebrow, but the angry, the up and down, and what I call the windshield wiper eyebrows. Secondly, how are the scenes done that involve Slappy walking? Having not seen a finished product of the movie, I'm not sure exactly what ended up being featured. There are a couple of Slappy shots where Slappy is completely CGI and I'm not involved at all, but I usually ran it at least once on set so they would have a frame of reference. Pretty much anytime I worked Slappy on set, I was in this horrible green screen leotard jumpsuit thing, so I could either work next to him or behind him, whatever was the best for me as a puppeteer, and then I'd just get airbrushed out later so there was no trace of me. We did a couple of shots where Slappy had to walk, and in those instances, Jake McKinnon, who was one of the guys that built Slappy, and did additional puppetry on Slappy whenever I couldn't physically do something. So he would control Slappy's legs as I moved Slappy along, but the puppet's very heavy, so we did those shots once, but they were mostly just for reference. So when you see the movie, if you see Slappy full figure, know there's a good amount of CGI going on. Anonymous says, dude, you are tight. I love superheroes. Thank you. So I got 9 questions from this next user on Tumblr, so I'm going to try to run through them as quickly as I can. Abby the Wolf on Tumblr says, what would happen if Slappy met your girlfriend for the first time? They have met. Savannah came to visit the set last July and got to meet Jack and Dylan and Ryan, Ondea, and Slappy. I think she scared him, just as she scares me. What does Slappy think of Scar from The Lion King? I kind of doubt that Slappy watches animated movies. Can Slappy ride a horse or a pony? Yes, but there's a lot of CGI involved. What would happen if Slappy became a police officer? See the movie and find out! What does Slappy think of romantic movies in general? Probably doesn't like those either, although he does bring up The Notebook a lot in conversation. Does Slappy like to party? I think we all know the answer is yes. If Slappy had a baby, do you think he would make a good father? No. Will R.L. Stine have to face Slappy alone in a showdown? Spoilers! See the movie and find out! My buddy Mo Monster from Facebook asks, what did you perform on Sesame Street? And if it had a voice, can you do it for us? I didn't get to operate Elmo or anything like that. The things I got to do not sound interesting at all to anyone outside of the little puppetry community. But I'll tell you anyway. I was a butterfly, I was a honker in Hooper's store, and I right-handed for puppeteer and Broadway actress Stephanie DeBruzzo on a character that I can't talk about until the episode comes out. I signed a non-disclosure thingy. But it was a wonderful experience and a dream come true, and I hope I get to go back soon, so keep an eye out for season 46, because I'm going to be in there. 2 episodes! Zuko Halliwell from YouTube says, I heard that for Slappy, your voice is being replaced by Jack Black's in post-production. Is that true? In all honesty, I'm not sure. Everything I've heard, everything I've read, and everyone I've talked to totally contradicts each other. I believe they replaced my voice for the movie with Jack's, just because he's Jack Black and I'm not. But you'll hear my Slappy for everything else. All those Twitter shoutouts and those Instagram videos, the Snapchat Q&As, and some other fun stuff. I signed another non-disclosure thingy. So I think Jack and I are just gonna be sharing Slappy duty. I said duty. Another one from Tumblr, hey, you're weird. That is my girlfriend. Thank you, dear. The Invader Trixie says, were there any scenes with Slappy that you found challenging to do? I think I've talked about this other places, but working in the haunted car was very, very difficult. The car was not built for a puppeteer, it was built to be driven. So for any scenes you see Slappy in the driver's seat of the haunted car, just know that I am laying on my back all the way across the front seat. Slappy is sitting on my chest, and I'm watching a little TV monitor down by the gas pedal. So spending 4 or 5 hours in that position was incredibly difficult, but fortunately for me, the more uncomfortable I was, the angrier and angrier Slappy got. So I think it all worked out. Personnel from Tumblr's got a couple of questions here. Have you ever had anything spooky happen to you? Do you have a personal ghost story? I do not, but I did live for a month in the Springer Opera House, which is one of the oldest and most haunted places in the state of Georgia. And I was always looking for something to take away as my personal ghost story, but I didn't have any luck. Do you have a favorite horror movie and your favorite movie in general? For horror movies, I'm gonna go just as basic as I can and say the classics, pretty much anything Wes Craven touched. But I watch so many movies, it's really hard to nail down a favorite. As my favorite movie in general, I'm going to say Mrs. Doubtfire, just because every time I watch it, I pick up on something new Robin Williams does, and I find that hilarious. What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you? I hydroplaned in my car once. That was terrifying. Who would you say is your biggest influence? I'm gonna have to go with the standard puppeteer answer of Jim Henson. Not only in what I do for a living, but in my sense of comedy. There's going to be a Goosebumps sequel. How hyped are you? I've not heard anything personally, so I'm not gonna get too excited until I get a phone call. But Goosebumps 2, Slappy's Revenge does have a nice ring to it. What is the biggest puppet you've ever performed with? A couple of years ago, I was part of a production of Little Shop of Horrors, and I got to perform and build the Audrey 2 puppets. I was working with the guys in the scene shop to build this massive man-eating plant, and they weren't puppeteers and didn't know much about the art of puppetry and how puppets need to be light, so they built this giant steel thing that had to weigh 75, 80 pounds. Not a lovely experience working with that particular puppet. Who is your favorite puppet personality that you've created, designed? That also changes a lot because I build probably 24 puppets a week. But I'll go with my buddy Hare here because he's a lot of fun and kids like him and old people like him. I'm a very likable person! Subscribe to my channel. But then again, my buddy Fernando has been a more recent character I've had a lot of fun with. Hello, Internet! Are you Aing their cues? I am loving of that. Is that cheating if I pick two? Who is your favorite performer? I'm going to go with Muppeteer Matt Vogel. You probably don't know his name, but you definitely know the characters he performs. Incredibly nice guy and very quick with improv. He's hilarious. Always fantastic mentality from Tumblr says, if Hannah was adopted as an infant, how would Slappy fare with a seemingly endless stream of crying? I think we all know the answer is not well. Fishy Studios says, it's been roughly a year since the last full-on episode of Hare's Special Show. Any plans for new episodes of Hare's Special Show or something even bigger starring the Hare clan? Unlike Heath and the Checker Shoe Band Show, which is another show I'm part of, channel right here, which is on Christian Television Network every Saturday morning, Hare's show doesn't really have a home or much of an audience, really. It's just lived on YouTube for the most part. And the time and effort it takes to put together one of those episodes isn't worth the 20 views that those episodes typically get. So that's why we've held off on them, to pay a little more attention to the shows that do get national exposure. If we can find a bigger audience and more of an outcry for it, we'll be very happy to put out more. But as of right now, I think our time is best spent on things that are gonna get a lot of eyes on. Mohegan567 from Tumblr says, can a ghost and a zombie come from the same person? Yes. Blue Aces says, do you have any funny or interesting stories to tell from your experience on the set of Goosebumps? I worked on that movie for 4 months, so there's a lot of stories. The one that immediately pops into my mind is I did a scene of Slappy in the police station, and in that scene he works alongside Jillian Bell. I did not know who she was at the time. A week later, I went to see 22 Jump Street and freaked out because I did scenes with her. And I never saw her again. More sad than interesting. Reading as a Scream says, in your call for questions video, a huge amount of Slappy merchandise can be seen. Did you start collecting before you got the role of Slappy in the Goosebumps movie or afterwards? We shot the movie last summer. As soon as the movie wrapped, I flew to San Diego, did Comic-Con, came back home a few days later, and immediately ordered my first piece of Slappy merchandise. And then another, and then another, and then another. I had no idea there was so much Slappy stuff out there, and how hard it is to find some of this stuff. I'm still on eBay every single day trying to track it all down. So afterwards, Jesper's Candy from YouTube says, how long did it take you to master your puppetry? I'm still learning. I don't think I've mastered it just yet. I'm also incredibly critical of myself, so I think in the last 4 or 5 years, I've gotten to be pretty good. Maybe one day, I'll master it. Also from Tumblr, Don't You Forget About Me has a couple of questions. Right off the bat, would you ever be willing to record a villain song for Slappy? Do you think Slappy would even sing a song about how evil he is? Slappy has a lovely voice. I don't know if it's going to be in the final cut of the movie, but I did spend a good week shooting Slappy singing for a scene in the movie. So Slappy's no stranger to music. If somebody wrote a song that I felt was funny and worthy, I would be more than happy to record a Slappy song, but I have no idea how to play any instrument, so I'm not musically gifted enough to put any of that together. But if somebody else did all the work, sure! If you had the time, would you ever redub the TV show's version of Slappy? I think I've gotten this question twice now, and yes, I'd be very happy to do that, but I don't know where to start. So let me know in some comments somewhere which episode I should start with, and I will see what I can do. Number 3, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Fun fact for you, I do not like ice cream. And do you know why? Because I'm a freak. What has your experience as a puppeteer been like? I have been doing puppets since I was 5 years old. I was incredibly shy and refused to perform in front of anyone until I got into theater in 2007. Because I kept to myself for so long, I was able to really work on the art and figure it out and get good at it. So as soon as people found out I was a puppeteer, once I'd kind of come out of my shell, I got to do a lot of puppetry in theater, which ultimately led into Goosebumps and working on Sesame Street. So I have no complaints at all about my experience as a puppeteer. I'm very, very fortunate to be where I am. And how did you get your first gig? My first paid gig, I performed this little restaurant where my church was having this gathering, and they brought me in to do like 20 minutes and they paid me like $200. I was incredibly nervous, but from that I was able to go out and buy a decent camera and start making videos and putting them up on YouTube and, you know, learning more about how to put everything together. That didn't answer the question, did it? And here we are, the last question. How does it feel to have fans? I've been trying to think of a funny answer to this question, but I can't, because I am incredibly grateful to the small group that is assembled around me and Slappy and Goosebumps. I'm very grateful for all the love and attention you guys have sent my way. It's very cool to feel like a rock star in a very small corner of the internet. I am very appreciative and very grateful. And there you have it. I really appreciate everyone who sent in a question. I love interacting and getting to know people, and I like talking about myself, so this is a win-win for everyone. I'll be doing another one of these videos in October, the week of the release of the movie, but I'll put up another call for questions video then, so you know when to send them my way. Goosebumps is coming out October 16th. There's a lot of good stuff coming between now and then, so keep an eye out. Wah!